You're live.
Good morning,
Good
John.
morning.
How are you this morning? Good morning. We're going to do our morning Devo video. Is it time for morning Devos? It's pretty late. It's like
It's not in the morning, but
10:40 on a Saturday. And
I know.
what happens on Saturday?
Typically,
Yeah.
we have a French toast and
Family breakfast.
family breakfast.
Special breakfast.
My parents started doing that so many years ago.
You think it's adorable for your son, who's an adult, to wake up to the smell of breakfast cooking.
Smell of bacon or sausage.
Because you remember that memory fondly from when you were
I
a
do.
child. That's
I do.
cute. That's very cute.
I'm just looking at our video. I feel it's laggy, but I could be wrong. What's a key or what's a takeaway that you've been learning in recovery? 12-step recovery in the last week or so. Anything that pops out?
Yeah.
I know we don't rehearse this beforehand.
My stick-to-itness is lacking.
Stick to itness.
I have
Is
a
that a
major
word?
character defect in the sense that I don't stick to things.
Commitment.
Oh,
Commitment?
oh,
Follow through?
I have
Fear of
commitment.
failure?
I have commitment and loyalty. I'm like the dog you never wanted.
We have one of those. No, buddy.
But when it comes to taking care of myself and doing the things that I need to do for me, I am seriously lacking.
What's the word that you call? What's the word that you use?
Are you challenging me or
No,
asking
what's the
me?
word that you used? I've totally forgotten.
Oh, my stick-to-itness.
Stick-to-itness. That's a John Ruby word right there. Stick-to-itness. I got no stick-to-itness.
When you asked me that, I was like, well, if I knew the word, I would have used it.
Stick-to-itness. I don't got the
I
stick-to-itness.
don't have the stick-to-itness. So,
yeah.
let me just tell you what I did this morning. This morning,
To-itness.
I looked at my phone time for the past week, and I wrote it down in my journal.
We're live.
I know.
You're going to talk about phone time. I think you should talk about phone time.
I am unemployed. I do not have a job, and currently my job is to do my recovery. To work recovery, because I do believe I've been around recovery for a really long time. I've done the steps before, but never quite so like thoroughly or had so many like light bulbs going off for myself.
An awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. It was good for me to like, I woke up this morning with a thought that I like aware that I've been kind of restless and a little bit irritable the last couple of days. I get a little whiny in my head of like, there's nothing to look forward to. You know, I've started buying, like I don't go to stores that often, but I had to go to the dollar store. And so then I bought some Christmas stuff. And I did that at Costco a couple weeks ago. I bought like Christmas ribbon. I knew we needed it. Anyway, so I'm like,
And when I asked you what's
antsy.
in the bag, you felt attacked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask questions.
I've gotten a little antsy. And so I just realized, and I had a thought this morning of like, you know, this 1,000 square feet, this house is 1,000 square feet. I'm like, it is starting to feel smaller and smaller.
Oh, wait till winter.
So then, I know, exactly. So then I thought like, well, there's nothing I can do about any of that.
It's true. No.
The only thing I can do is something about like what's going on inside of me. And so then I brought that into my journaling, and I was reading my Bible this morning, and so I read a passage basically that basically Jesus was saying like, it actually doesn't matter if you can explain the laws, like you actually need to obey them. And so that really
Stick-to-itness.
so then I just felt really convicted about like, I talk about recovery a lot, but like actually like sticking to things, and you know, how often do I let things slide that I talk about doing, but I'm not actually doing them as often as I'd like to convince myself that I'm actually doing them. Like, you know, quieting my mind is so important for me because my mind just spins out of control. It's not. Anyway, so
So then what's the concept of being on a phone too much or Netflix too much? Like what is that? Like not
I think
not
it's
about you, but like in a general sense, because I think
in a general sense.
a lot of people do that.
I think it just takes
It's
over.
escape.
So it's partially. I don't intend it to be escape, but yes, it does turn into an escape and then it just consumes you. Like it is in control.
But then social media flares up
and
little spikes of adrenaline.
Little spikes of adrenaline, little spikes of look what's going on over here, little spikes of like
Discontentedness.
Yeah, little spikes of like, oh, I miss that person, little spikes of I'd really like to go get my hair done. Little spikes of like, oh,
I wish my husband was
so
more
nice
like that
they
husband.
do that. Or little spikes, little tiny spikes, and I don't necessarily realize how much they're affecting me.
And it leads a person away from stick-to-itiveness.
I don't think that I have envy. I don't think I do, but I've started trying to like pay attention to like what happens when I'm on social media, and I'm like, is that envy? Like, does my house feel smaller because I've been consuming.
That's a big insight.
Social media.
We should just quit the day on that note. Because most people wouldn't say they're envious, but when you put it
I'm really
that way,
happy for my friends, and
when you put it that way, the fruit of envy would be discontent of where you are.
I love my house.
It's good. That's good teaching right there.
I'm quite content, but yes,
that's good. So
that's all I feel like saying
the
about
point
that,
of recovery, what you're really talking about, is where you've lacked power and lacked unmanageability. That's what you're looking for in the process of recovery. We might have belief, but we don't have access to power.
Right.
God.
And so that is what I wrote in my journal is I'm powerless. I know where this goes. Like I know where this goes. I know that my slight irritability, I think yesterday maybe was the first day that I noticed it. Just a little bit cranky, a little bit reactive, a little bit maybe on edge, whatever. Just a little bit. So sorry, I know where that goes. And I know that it doesn't get better on its own. It actually gets worse until if I have a blowout. So let's say we have an argument, and I have a blowout. We have a blowout isn't like a blowout used to be, but let's say we have an argument, and especially if I cry, then I'll feel better, and then we can move on, and then it'll be over. And so it's almost like there's like something inside of me that's just like waiting for that release of like some sort of like outburst, or to get angry, or to cry, or to whatever. And so like it's like I get this little restless, this little irritability, and then it kind of like builds a little bit. And so that might be sometime next week. So I'm just trying to pay attention, because I've only really started to notice this right in the last 6 months or whatever.
Brilliant.
So
brilliant.
I'm just trying to figure out, is there something different I can do, and just pay attention to what's happening.
Drink water.
That's why I'm drinking water instead of making myself a second coffee. I poured myself a glass of water.
Good for you. Cheers. Yeah, that's good.
I am gonna have a second coffee though with breakfast.
I'm gonna have a second coffee too. I've been making these latte macchiatos.
That's what I
with
want.
the layers.
I want you to make me an ombre coffee like you.
Yeah, I remember that too. Is I would be irritable, discontent, and restless, and I would try to pick fights, and predominantly you, and blame you for me going out to drink and do whatever. And so I think we use each other. We use the closest relationships to prove that we need.
Yeah, and like what's gonna make me feel better? Like I just don't think. I think that all the lies like inside my head of like, well, if only. Like I started thinking, well, if we just painted, I think we need to paint.
I'm going to start reading.
No, but these are the things that go through my head of like, I think I need a new stove, and then I would enjoy cooking more. And that would be like a creative hobby. These are the crazy thoughts that are going on in my head. But it's possible because I do enjoy cooking. I do.
Well, you don't have to lie.
I do enjoy cooking. You have to remember in the show, and the little girl said to the dad, like, you have to let the horse like even get to know himself and what he likes. Remember that? Like that was me. I am in this entirely new environment where I don't have a job and I don't even know what I like. And I think I like cooking, but I have never actually really.
Well,
So these are the crazy thoughts.
Shop.
No, we're not. These are the crazy thoughts that happen of like, oh, but maybe I really like painting and maybe I should tackle a small project in the house. But then I realize, no, here's what I said my 2 commitments are going to be for the next 6 months. These are the 2 commitments. And I said that I wasn't going to take on anything like big. So why would I take on something like
because all those
literally
thinkings
renovating
take you away from stick-to-itness.
Exactly.
Really, is because you're discontent.
trying-
You're looking at all the cooking pictures that
I'm looking for excuses.
my
to
friend
not,
Sarah posts all the time. Like, oh my
She's such a
goodness, like move in. No. We could be good cooks like that too if we had a new stove, like a
If I had a
propane
new
stove with a
for
grill
sure.
in the
it
middle.
would need to be gas, and then I would need to like.
I would do gas.
I need to do some renos in the kitchen though, and I'd need to paint it because that beautiful stove. Anyway, it
I
just
twitch it.
spirals
I
out.
like it.
And the whole thing is that there's like, so then in my journal today too, I listed the things like, what were the things that I said I was going to do that I didn't do? Just because my biggest thing is that I can just totally be in denial.
Isn't it nice that we can hold ourselves accountable by
I've never done
making a list, like working with God and going like, what's the best for me right now? And then,
so if I have a boss, I will work my butt off to prove myself to that boss. And I will actually like do more than whatever. And then I might do.
you don't do the bare minimum. You
No,
do
I will not do the bare minimum. Like I will, and I'm a great employee. But outside of that context, how come I can't work like that for myself or just be who I need to be for myself and for God?
Well, in recovery, we say we have a new employer.
Exactly.
His name is God.
For God. So I threw that in. And
That's
we're
good.
just gonna
Man, wow.
Just read.
Like I don't even have time
Just
to answer
read.
the question. Like usually,
We don't have time.
Usually we reciprocate because I learn stuff too.
We don't have time. You have to go.
What
make me
I've
breakfast.
learned in 14 years of recovery, the newest part that I've learned is like I have to keep at it.
I know.
Stick to itness. That was good.
And it's just like 6 months
Man,
feels
that
like a
word,
long time.
stick to itness.
I know.
Okay, feelings and surrender, October the 17th. Surrendering is a high personal and spiritual experience. Surrender is not something that we can do in our heads. It is not something we can force or control by willpower. It is something we experience. Acceptance or surrender is not a tidy package. Often it is a package full of hard feelings, anger, rage, and sadness, followed by a release of relief.
Release and relief.
That. As we surrender, we experience our frustration and anger at God, at other people, at ourselves, and at life. Then we come to the core of the pain and sadness and heavy emotional burden inside that must come out before we can feel good. Often these emotions are connected to healing and release at a deep level. Surrender sets the wheels in motion. Our fear and anxiety about the future are released when we surrender. We are protected. We are guided. Good things have been planned. The next step is now being taken. Surrender is the process that allows us to move forward. It is our higher power. It is how our higher power moves us forward. Trust in the rightness of timing and the freedom at the other end as you struggle humanly through this spiritual experience. Prayer for today. I will be open to the process of surrender in my life. I will allow myself all the awkward and potent emotions that must be released. Any comments?
No.
I think the comments are all at the beginning. Wow.
It just feels really poignant considering our conversation.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Acceptance.
It's not a tidy
a
package.
key or is the fruit of surrender. Acceptance leads us into surrender. I think acceptance, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness are all the keys to surrender. And then trusting, timing, trusting that we are protected, that we are being guided. Yeah. Damn it. Did you cry on camera again? Are you crying right now? Why are you crying?
If you didn't say anything, no one would notice.
Why are you crying? You can talk about why you're crying.
Because it just felt like, maybe it's just that, like, everything, what I'm going through is actually just totally part of the process and totally normal. Surrender, so it's not something that we can do in our heads, and it's not something we can force or control by willpower. It's something we experience. And so I know that's what I have experienced. Like at the beginning of the year, I was like, I suck at running my life and I just want something to do different. And so for me, a big part of it was like recognizing my defensiveness in our relationship, like in our interactions and stuff like that. And so just really seeing like how defensive I am, and that's weird and crazy, and why do I operate like that, and low self-esteem, and like, oh my goodness, this is so ridiculous. Because then if you have low self-esteem, you're defensive and you overcompensate and you take things personally. And so I was like, oh, I don't want to keep living like this. And then anxiety and like just this overthinking and spinning thoughts at night, and just really realizing like these are not ways that I want to keep living. And so I tried to do something different. And I have been this year, 2020, been really, really trying to do something different. And then I really feel like even just, this global pandemic life and how, our country and province have decided to react to it, just put me in another place of surrender. Like I can't fight it. My opinions don't even matter. Like I try right now to not even really carry opinions, because my opinions don't even matter. Like I actually just need to do what I'm being asked to do. And it's given me way more space and time to focus on what I said I was going to be focusing on, instead of having all these distractions of making coffee dates. And, like I'm so limited in what I can do that
it's actually helping your stay tuned.
Or it doesn't, because then I just sit on my phone. And so that's...
So then when we surrender with our heads, like at the beginning, when we work as to our employer with our heads, it's actually compliance. And you kind of talked about that at the beginning of like, that would be the bare minimum of what the boss expects, which is fine. But surrender is working with my heart, which is everything, and not meeting a compliance, but giving 100%, going well beyond. And so acceptance is the key to that. Very good. Man, this was a great therapy session.
It's so unnerving doing this on camera. And it plays in my head so much.
You don't let it. This is our own therapy session.
We are not therapists. We take everything we say with a grain of salt.
I'm pretty sure everybody has figured that one out by now, and that they probably think that we need a therapist. We should have a therapist sitting in the middle.
Honestly and truly, one of the main reasons that I agreed to do this is for my stick-to-itiveness. Because
you're the one that suggested it.
Really. I know, that was crazy and mostly a joke. But doing these videos has really helped me stick to something that is, I just don't stick to things. And so doing these videos has been partly that, partly when you got sober, I had said to God, thank you. And if it can ever be an encouragement to anybody else, I want to be willing to do that. And so partly this is like, okay, if you are really struggling, hopefully this can be an encouragement to you that actually you're not alone.
It's interesting because we all have the ability to stick to itness. Because, I stuck to drinking for 15 years of self-destruction.
But nobody wants to watch 19 minutes of us rambling.
Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
But anyway. we all are gifted with stick-to-itness. We just have to put it in the right direction.
Put it in the right direction.
Yeah, we can all stick to eating popping chips on the couch and watching Netflix. For
some odd reason. Call me out on camera.
No!